And we're live. Hello, friends. Welcome to Coach's Corner. The reason we do this stream, the best part of it, I love Coach's Corner, and this is really our niche on Twitch. Really seeing you guys improve as raiders, and really seeing you go from those LFR zeros to those LFR heroes to normal and then heroic raiders, and then eventually mythic raiders too. So today we're going to be talking about really Highmaul, really prepping yourselves for raiding. Are you guys ready to raid? It's Tuesday, the crowd goes wild. Yes, everybody's ready to raid, we're all excited. I can't wait. Honestly, I can't wait to raid. I'm so excited. I'm so excited. I can't wait to see what bugs we discover in the raids, what new little strats will be developed. So hello guys. Cheers to you on this Sunday evening. And of course, tonight we're going to have our Molten Core run as well. We're going to have some guildies, alts, and then I'm going to fill the rest of the spots with you guys. We're going to run that Molten Core every week. We're going to run a Horde run soon, and hopefully we'll have an E run done before it goes away in January of some sort. January 5th, 6th, whatever. Alright, so, prepping for raiding. There's a lot of prep that goes involved raiding. I know I'm getting a lot of comments from people like, I can't believe this. This is my first expansion release. I can't believe how much work is going into prepping for raiding. Like, I gotta get all these alt ready and all my stuff, and like, it's so much work. Which is, aren't you glad that Blizzard gave you 2.5 weeks now to level your characters and get everything geared up? God, better be glad. 9:30 for the run there. Perfect. The Butcher puts his debuff on the whole raid, not just melee. Oh god, yeah, that would be bad. That would be bad, Cody. So we're gonna talk about all the different fights here. We're gonna give you guys a quick rundown of how the fights run. I'll give you some videos as well, some resources. We're gonna go through some of the Icy Veins guides as well. I'm a big supporter of Icy Veins. Sorry, not Icy Gaze, but Icy Veins. Of Icy Veins, because they give a lot of really great, basic and intermediate knowledge. They're really not so much for the advanced guys, but they're a great resource overall. I mean, they really should pay me royalties with how many people I send over to their website. So we're gonna let's talk about raiding first here. Give me one sec. So starting off with raiding, is your character ready? What item level is your character? People always ask me that question. Recently, they've been asking me that question. What item level is okay for raiding? Well, if you guys do your dungeons every day, your heroic dungeons, you do them that way, you do your Molten Core, which we'll be doing again tonight. If you get your 680 ring right here, and you get, these dungeon blues in all other slots, the average item level will be 634. Totally fine. That is absolutely okay for starting off normals, and then eventually getting into heroics. That is totally fine. Remember, LFR drops 640. LFR doesn't come out until December 9th, the first wing anyway. Normal comes out December 2nd. This Tuesday drops 655 gear. Heroic drops 670, and then Mythic drops 685. Going into normals with 630-ish, 635 gear, totally fine. Again, we had our Coach's Corner a little while ago about all the different ways to get geared up. Again, challenge modes give you 640 gear, socket chances, Warforged stuff. The garrisons give you 645 gear. You can buy BOEs as well, like this, which are 665, help you a lot more. There's crafted gear like the Winged Hourglass here, which is just godly again for healers. There's such a higher mana regen from it that it's incredible. So I'm 643 right now. I think I'm the third highest, next to both Towley and Moodog in my guild. And Towley's got horseshoes up his ass, and Moodog's been spending his gold bank there. Has spread to the stream. Your minis make me proud. Very good, very good. We can't wait, Marksman. We can't wait to raid. So I mean, if you guys have been doing that, you'll be totally fine for normals and then going into heroics. People have always asked me. People have recently asked me as well. Is it worth doing normals as well as heroics that first week? Yeah, why not? Why? It's pretty much free loot, right? Like if you're gonna be raiding, a bunch of days per week, if you can do it, why not? We're raiding 4 days a week, for example. We have multiple raid groups set up in order to maximize how much loot we're getting. I'll talk about split raids here in a second. And it's a gear. I mean, it's a good little benchmark for how you're going to be doing in heroics as well. So we'll see. I mean, in beta, we had normals scaled to I think 630, so we all had heroic dungeon gear in normals. I think we had 655 gear in heroics, potentially. I can't remember. I mean, it was somewhere around there anyway. Somebody can correct me if I'm wrong here. Talia's 3 good characters. Yeah, I know. I mean, he's got scavengers, epic mounts, everything. Yeah, exactly. So, are you ready? I mean, is your character ready potentially? Now, do you have flasks, food, and chance? You know, people always tell me, hey, I can totally apply to your guild. I'll bring all my flasks, food, and chance. I'm totally ready. Well, that is the very basic of a raider. You know, at the very basic level, you should have all your flasks, food, and chance, everything. Now, as guild leaders, as officers, as whatever, how much are you guys providing? You know, maybe that's something for you guys to talk about as a guild. I know it's a little bit late now to talk about it, but how much are you guys providing in terms of raid materials? Are you providing flasks? Are you providing feasts? Well, we're providing, like, we have a ton of feasts. So I have my guild bank ready. No, it's on cooldown, damn it. So we have, you know, all the feasts provided. A lot of guild members have just, you know, trapped and killed a lot of animals and fish or whatever to get those feasts for us, as well as a lot of retired players and friends have helped out to just stock the guild bank full of feasts. You will never have to bring food ever to a raid. Are repairs paid for? You know, do you have a lot of gold? Well, maybe you should start stocking up gold as well if your guild does not pay for your repairs for some reason. Flasks as well. So, you know, your flasks really, I mean, you guys should come with your greater whatever flasks. So here is an example. I'm create some greater draining flasks for my guild right now. 14, 16 stacks of them. Where are they? There we go. So, yeah, it's making lots of little stacks here of these greater drainer flasks. Greater drainer intellect flasks. I can't talk. They cost about 70 gold in the auction house, which is pretty reasonable. Pretty reasonable for starting an expansion. Flasks are going to jump up in price. So again, if you guys are... Thanks for subbing, LFE101. Much appreciated. Thanks for the support. I'm glad you like our Coach's Corner. Now, let me finish here. Before you interrupt me again, Kanye West. So these flasks are pretty cheap. If you guys are looking to buy flasks, buy them before the raid starts. I guarantee they're going to shoot up in price on Tuesday. I guarantee. Don't do it. Yeah, I mean, buy them now. So here, I've made flasks for, you know, my entire raid, for all my casters right now, for the first raid. Plus I have, you know, like a crap ton of more of these alchemical catalysts. There'll be a way you can buy those in the auction house, buy Sorcerer's Earth, and then just combine it all. So do it that way too. So flasks, I mean, you guys should all come to raids with flasks, obviously. Now, the next big thing is enchants and gems. If we look at the auction house right now for, let's say, I don't know, look at the auction house for the gift, I think it's the gift of Critical Strike, you know, the ring enchants, neck enchants, and cape enchants. Those are your three main enchants right now in Warlords Draenor. Look at how much they cost. Look at how much the weapon enchant costs. Look at how much the best gems right now cost. You know, the 50 crit gem compared to a 35 crit gem. It is insane. Like, it's 7,000 gold for one gem.
It should be more.
It should be more?
Honestly.
You think so?
As a jewel crafter, it should be more.
Oh, as a jewel crafter. Oh, as a jewel crafter, you think? I mean,
I'm just saying, like, as somebody who had, like, the cooldowns that you have to use to make those 50.
Yeah, I know. It's a lot. It's a lot of those talodites, right?
Yeah, it's a ton. Like, it's more than you have to use to make, like, a robe. You know, like, it's ridiculous. Yeah.
So, that being said, maybe you want to invest in gems now, maybe not. Again, for the average person, the average viewer that doesn't have, you know, Elvine levels of gold, you know, 16 million on the auction house, it may not be affordable to, you know, fully bring the best enchants on your heroic dungeon gear going into a raid where all of it's going to get replaced very, very quickly. So maybe that's something to discuss with your officers, your guild leaders, whatever. You know, what is the expectation of the guild in order to, you know, to get geared? You know, should they be blowing 20,000 gold for normal raids? Or is it a little bit more reasonable to get, you know, the lesser enchants, which are quite a bit cheaper? Yeah, so it's, it just tells me it's 2,500 gold for the gem on Stormage right now.
Yeah.
So, I mean, which is, I think, cheaper relative to, you know,
cheap.
For the cooldowns, yeah. So, I mean, the stat difference is, what, 15 crit rating? 35 is a cheaper one. 50 is the more expensive gem, the better gem. And that's where you put in, you know, your sockets or whatever else you have. But sockets are so rare that gems are going to be, you know, higher in price for sure. And they should be. You know, they definitely should be. I'm gold capped on a server that isn't on the server I raid on. Oh, that sucks. That's a real struggle. Yes, that's a real struggle. Yeah, and like Martin says here in channel, 50 gems are very expensive to make. Maths-wise, it's ludicrous. It is, but there's very few gem sockets out there. I mean, they're an extra bonus, right? I have a couple here. I've got my boots, legs that are... yeah, and then cape and stuff. Like, I mean, should I really put a 50 crit thing in here for normal raids? Probably not. If it was a higher level epic, yeah, I mean, For the average for the average raider, which is most of what you guys are, sure, you know, spend it for the 35 mastery, 35 crit, whatever. Probably not if you can't afford, you know, the crazy amounts of gold for it. That's for the enchant. Oh, the gems. Sorry, Midget says the gems are 6,000 and the enchant is 2,500. So there you go. People are under the pressure to come fully gem enchanted to the raid. At least that's what's going on in Mumble. Yeah, I mean that's. I mean, if they can afford it.
Heroic, yeah, they should be.
For normals, for normal.
The amount of runs that we sold, they can afford to come fully.
Oh yeah, I mean, again, it depends on your guild situation. So, for example, our guild specifically, we sold a lot of runs. We, you know, all of our referral members made, you know, at least $500,000 in gold. At least $500,000 in gold. So they can justify, you know, buying BOEs and getting their enchant stuff and, you know, whatever. But for the average, you know, let's say US 500 raiding guild, maybe, you know, a little bit unreasonable to expect that much. But again, you know, I always tell you guys, put in as much as you can, min-max everything, because every little bit counts. Every single bit. Me, specifically? Well, and I'll tell you guys the same thing here. As a guild master, as a raid lead, as an officer, you need to lead by example. Why should I slack off? I mean, yeah, I'm gonna have really crappy really awesome gems in, you know, all my stuff and, you know, the best enchants. Why should I slack off when, you know, my other guild members are putting in the best effort, right? You have to lead by example with your enchants, with everything that you do into all these characters. What about the just trials? I'm running out of money. You know, you could sell your body. That is one option. Or, you know, you could get gold in other ways.
You're a trial. Suck the fuck up to us.
Sailor language. Let's immerse the sailor language down. So, I mean, there's lots of different ways to get gold. I mean, it's been 2.5 weeks, right? It depends on your situation, though, you know, what your expectation of your guild is and your raiders. So, moving on from there. Yeah, again, the best enchants are really expensive. Is your guild prepped? You know, are you guys prepped as raiders? Have you gone through, you know, the Icy Veins guides, for example, the Fat Boss guides? There's quite a few out there. You know, there's a bunch of German guides, whatever you want to do. Have you looked at these strats? A lot of guilds, I mean, the average guild will have strat discussion. You know, maybe it'll just be some people posting, maybe it'll be a lot of contributors posting the entire time. So maybe a strat discussion on your forms for each boss would be applicable, and I mean, or even having like a mythic strat night where we talk about all the bosses that we're going to be running, or at least the next few mythic bosses, and exactly fine-tuning our strats. You know, what if we quiz our raiders, right? You know, how do you know that the guy you are raiding with is prepared or not? You know, I've done tons of things over the last 10 years to just sort of drive the point home, like, you know, pop quiz, hot shot, what do you do on this ability? You know, what are you supposed to do? You know, here's an example. If I ask, who's in here? Which of my raiders are in here right now? Let's say I'm going to pick on a marksman, because I saw marksman's name in here. So, if marksman on Kargath gets hit by the Berserker Rush ability, marksman, if you're not sure which one that is this one, the Berserker Rush that has a big skull on it. When Kargath is on you with Berserker Rush, what do? Okay, so he's done some beta. He's done, you know, hopefully some prep, and not just, you know, playing his ults and dicking around with pet battles. Hopefully he's done the research. And his answer should be, well, you know, you would turn it into one of the flame pillars because that stops his kite, that stops his Berserker Rush. And then the mythic strat will be slightly a little bit different. But, you know, as a raider, he should know exactly what to do. See? There you go. I know, huge stream delay there, but run to this fire skull thingy. You don't even know what the name of the, you know, the fire pillar is. The fire skull thingy is totally acceptable as an answer. This is in jeopardy. It is totally fine. Cut him into the fire. Exactly. I mean, you guys know exactly what to do there for Kargath. So, you know, making sure your raiders are ready to go, whatever way you want to find, you know, making sure that those guys are ready to go, that's fine. Oftentimes, I mean, sometimes we've employed things where, you know, if you've read this strat, make sure to PM me on the forums. And you'd only get, you know, like 15 raiders sending you a message on the forums, whereas you have a 40-person raid team. Which is, again, you're like, hey, did you bother reading the strat? Yeah. Oh, so why didn't you send me a private message? Well, you know, didn't exactly read this strat. I sort of skimmed it, and then I looked at some pictures, and then I was busy looking at cat pictures, and I got distracted. Well, you know, the average raider, right? So one thing that we've done as well, and I talked to you guys about this a couple days ago, is we funnel raids or funnel gear into our raider. So let's say the top, and this is more towards the higher end kind of guilds, what they're doing, maybe what some of you guys want to consider, is we are splitting our main raid group into 2 groups. So here's the example of our main raid groups. So you see on the left side here we have one group, and here we have another group. So we have, our plate, our leather, our mail, and cloth wearers split up into different groups here. We have, let's say, 4 plate wearers, 5 leather, 3 mail, and 5 cloth. Which means that if any mail gear drops, it's either going to go to Marksman, Ganor, or Brandista. That's it. That there's like 1 mail piece per boss, like 1 plate piece per boss. If it drops, it's going to go to one of those 3 people, instead of going between, potentially, we have 7 mail users. So you effectively double the amount of raid loot you get. Well, how does that work? You take, half your raid, you fill the rest with alts and casuals and socials and friends and that kind of stuff. You make them ineligible for loot or give them a lower loot priority. And all the loot goes to your main raiders first. Any leftovers can go over to, the people that are there to help you out. But you make 2 groups of 30 people. So on the same side, on the right side here, we have Tally Deadman tanking. So they're 2 plate users. Sparty is healing. Ariana is DPSing. So there are 4 plate wearers. So who's going to get loot? Well, honestly, it's probably going to be, a DPS first, then tanks, and then healers in that order. Which is really the general progression path. People always ask, what should you gear first? Should you gear DPS first or healers first? Well, if you gear a healer, they can heal harder. Well, stop standing and stupid so we don't have to heal you. Right? You always gear your DPS first, guys. That's pretty much the way it's always been. There's been a few exceptions where, for example, in Molten Core, 10 years ago, we would gear tanks first because tanks got hit like a truck and they needed fire resist gear, and you geared some healers and you geared DPS last sometimes. Otherwise, in Dragon Soul, you geared the tanks first with their 4-piece bonuses. But yeah, generally speaking, like most of the time, DPS first. But this does, split up half our group or half our raid, and the rest can be filled with people that are on their all. So Towley's, oh my God, Towley's playing on his Brewmaster. No, I'm not going to be healing that group. Photon will be healing that group. Fantastic. So now I know that Photon is going to have a fun time healing Towley. Awesome. And I'll be healing Towley and Deadman, which are solid plate wearers. So that's how it splits up. You have 6 pieces of loot from every boss, roughly. At 7 bosses, 42 pieces of loot total for the entire, for that difficulty specifically for normal. If I split it up in 2, well, that's 84 pieces of loot between the entire 33 people. Question here: how can someone? Oh, I'll ask another question later. Zelta. What's your opinion on personal loot for the first couple of weeks of raiding? So you can also, there's been some debate, back and forth. If you guys are running one raid group overall, then you have the potential to gear your raid quickly. But in this situation, you would never, ever, ever run personal loot. Ever. Group loot, you are able to gear specific people sooner. So, for example, Chambra is going to tear up the meters. Right? Who should I give, that 200 weapon to? Well, Schomburg or somebody else, or should I give that DPS trinket to? Knowing the strength of your players. Otherwise, if it's on personal loot, Schomburg gets 3 gold, Galvin gets a godly trinket. Right? It's who are your best raiders in that situation. You get to funnel it towards them, and it is the most intelligent choice. But again, it depends on the situation. There happened to be anyone in the guild that felt the split was uneven, impossible, unhappy? That's a good question. Are there people that are... I've made a couple adjustments here based on people, not being here on Tuesday. It's not a big deal either way. Like, if they're...
Like, anybody who's coming is coming on their alts another day, right? So
yeah, they're coming on their alts anyway to contribute. Like, I'm bringing my Warlock alt. I'm not expecting any loot. I'm just there to, sort of fill numbers. It's a fairly even split. It's, 4 plate, 5 leather, 6 leather... 3 mail, 4... Like, it's not it's not a terrible lopsided split. Yeah, like, it's pretty balanced. I've got, Warlock on each side, Shadow Priest on each side, Mages, Hunters are split, Rogues are split. They don't like it. Then they shouldn't be in the guild. That's a really weird way of... Or not a weird way, but, one way of saying it, but that's it. This is a raiding guild. We're here to gear everybody. You don't want to raid and... This is why I don't call them Team 1 and Team 2, or Team A and Team B. or Team, Sparty and Team Jackalope, because there's always that kind of bias whenever you split the groups up. And we had that issue, years ago when Burning Crusade came out in Karazhan, where we had, 3 groups going. And people never wanted to be in the third group because they were the slowest, and they had the, the crappiest players because they were the slowest level. But, you try to balance it out. And this is a pretty good balance of apps and mains and people that I know how they're going to perform exactly. Would personal loot be best for a 10-man group? It depends. It depends if you have, let's say, no cloth wearers in your 10-man White Brothers. If you have no cloth wearers, then yeah, potentially personal loot might be better because, if you're in your 10-man group, 2 pieces of loot drop, one's a wand, and one's a robe. Guess what? None of you can use it, right, in your, little 10-man group. Just wondering if anybody felt like they were in a true group 2. Well, not really, because I'm in group 2. I didn't stack the groups at all. They're all fairly balanced, so I don't think so. Nobody's complained to me, but I really wouldn't tell you if somebody had. I would have just, dealt it and kicked their ass. Yeah, but I mean, raids are flex till mythic. Take 13 people, take 14 people, like Wamo says. Do whatever you need to do. Okay, so that's it for split raids. Now, going on to boss fights. Any other questions here before I move on to boss fights? Yeah, 2 items in a 10-man drop, 6 items in a 30-man. Spread Immune Friends started a raiding guild. We don't have 20 people from, so we're trying to about 10-man. And then switch it to 20-man, that would be fine. Well, there's no 10 or 20-man, I mean, there's 20-man Mythic, which is a fixed size lockout, but everything else scales. I'm bringing 30 people to my normals and heroics. I'm running my first normal on Tuesday, second normal on Wednesday, first heroic Thursday, and then second heroic on Monday, because we raid 4 days a week. So we're going to be doing a lot of raiding. We're going to go through all the bosses many times and get lots of gear for us to prepare for Mythic. Yeah, I mean, that's the worry, right? That you have enough alts that are ready to go, that are competent enough to do enough DPS. Okay. Yeah, it should still be 5 pieces. It should be 5 pieces Arbiter per 5... Sorry, 1 piece per 5 people. So 10 people, 2 pieces, 6 pieces, 30 people. That's why we're trying to maximize as much as we can. Any other question? Hello, Various. How's it going? Okay, sounds good. So we're going to move on to the bosses here. Split gear. And now, whenever you guys are learning a new boss, what is the easiest kind of boss? Give me the easy... So those of you in chat here, give me the absolute easiest boss you've ever done. And I'll tell you exactly what it is. The absolute easiest boss. Let me go find one right now. I'm gonna go fly to him right now, guys. While you guys are talking in chat. I'll show you guys exactly what the easiest boss is. You will be streaming, yes, we'll be streaming all of it. We will not be streaming Mumble. Patrick, Tank and Spank, oh, good ones. Siegecrafter. Only if you're on the Belt Marksman, only. Morchok. General Nazgrim, Hogger. Hogger's a good one. Hogger actually has a couple abilities. Probably not. So Patrick is close. Patrick is a close first, or close second. The easiest boss in the game is this right here. This training dummy. That's it. This is the easiest boss.
That was a trick question. Why are you so mean?
That's a bit of a trick question. When you guys are, devising your strats or doing whatever here, yes, thanks for all the elevator boss. Perfect. Whenever you guys are devising your strats and a boss has certain abilities, a boss like Butcher, for example, this is a very good, example of a Patrick-style fight. Isolate his abilities to turn it into a Patrick-style fight, where all it is, like someone said earlier, is a tank and spank. All you do as a DPS is just stand there and nuke it. That's your dream. That is the DPS dream. Not worrying about anything at all, just one target or 10 targets and just attacking and seeing lots of big numbers. And not worrying about where you're standing and that kind of stuff. So isolate the mechanics, deal with them appropriately, so all you have to do, all that's left over, is the boss fight. Great example of that, when we ever did General Nazgrim in Siege of Orgrimmar, I always told you guys, deal with ads first, deal with Heroic Shockwave, then deal with boss. Because if you deal with ads, well, all the boss is left is just attack him, that's it. But if there's, a War Shaman up, and an Arcweaver up, and a Sniper up, and an Assassin up, like Mythic difficulty, well, you gotta deal with all those different abilities, and that really complicates things and slows down your DPS, and it sucks, because you're a DPS, and all you know how to do is drill on your keyboard in DPS. So, isolate the abilities. So we're going to talk about, Butcher, for example, Kargath, all that stuff, splitting it up for you guys. What is this picture? I'm not sure how you died to the training dummies, but I'm sure it happened.
No, the tank one, it kills you.
What does it?
Yeah, there's a tank one, and there's also a healing one.
Oh, fantastic.
Have you never been to your garrison before?
I don't need to practice on a training dummy.
The healing one has 1 HP.
Why would I want to practice healing?
Well, you know,
on a training dummy.
Because I tend to, you know, die a lot.
If they put a fire under that training dummy, that would be more accurate practice. And it's moving around, trying to run away from me, that would be more accurate practice. Killed by a tanking dummy. Oh man, the tanking one's a dick. So Invoke, I know you're a little bit late here to the roughly around 634 Invoke Wordy is the required minimum item level. Or I mean, it should be. If you're, 635 or 633, so let's say you're, again, just to backtrack for a second, if you're an officer or you're in a guild that says, hey, you know what, I want you guys to be 634. Pretty reasonable, right? But you have, like, the crappiest RNG and, like, totally stole all your luck. And you go to the raid with 632. Is the guild going to kick you out? Are they going to bench you? Well, I mean, be reasonable. If you expect, 637 out of your raiders, and they're 636 because they've been getting, 3 pairs of pants from challenge modes like me, as you can see here, 3 pairs of pants.
Moonfox has more pants than you.
Then, it sucks. Luck sucks. Or they don't have, mounds of gold, then they won't have, a ton of BOEs, for example. So it depends. It didn't hold the tank one. Okay, so we're going to look at Kargath first here. Kargath is a fun little fight here. I'm going to give you guys a diagram and the actual explanation itself here. I'm not going to use the Icy Veins video for this one. You know what, I don't know what Where's Kargath? Okay, one sec here. Let me pull it up for you guys. I'm not going to turn on the stand, but I'm going to explain sort of what's going on in positioning. Then I'll explain a bit of a drawing with all that stuff here. So it is a lower quality video. So this essentially is the Kargath arena right here. So I'm going to pause it, during the more important pieces. Kargath right here in the middle, or the top there. This quality's terrible. And you see, little pits around there. You see, little skulls on the ground, little flaming skulls potentially. Now, the pits have just opened up. As a raid group, as each person, let's say a tank healer DPS, you need to know what to do for all of his abilities. The first one is, watch where you're standing. As a tank, decide where you're going to position the boss. Where they're positioning the boss right now is totally fine. Tanking right over there. Well, I mean, it's not ideally. It's not a really great position anyway. Reason why? Because right now they're tanking on top of these fire pillars. If a fire pillar were to spawn right now on these guys, they would get knocked into the pit, they would get knocked all over the place and take fire damage. So probably not an ideal place to tank the boss right on top of the flame skull. If you guys watch the live raid, Method or Midwinter, whatever, they tanked him right at the gate. Right at the gate, and then they had a flame thing spawn right at the start there, and, it was totally fine. Now, what the ranged and healers need to do, because he does something called a Blade Rush, I believe it's called. Sorry, one sec here. Yeah, tap back and forth. The Blade Rush ability. Blade Dance, sorry. Blade Dance, he charges at a random person, and it does 39,000 physical damage to anyone within 7 yards. So if you're all holding hands there Care Bear style, and you're trying to Care Bear stare the boss to death, well, more people take damage. The whole goal is to minimize raid damage. So here there's an arrow of this guy. Look at him charge right now. There. He's charging right over here, and he's going to go back and forth. So that's why you stay split up. And these guys are fairly split up. You should have a 7-yard range window on your, on your screen here to make sure you're not holding hands with anybody else. Yeah, you know what? Don't make fun of this guy. Now, right here on the left side, this is the flame skull circle that Mark's mentioned earlier. This is where you kite Kargath into. He does his Berserker Rush, kite him into it. So, yeah, we're gonna just keep ignoring the hunter here in beta. Don't make fun of him too much. There's more of the Blade Dance. He's charging randomly. Again, charging randomly. That's why you stay spread out. More charges. Now, he does an Impale ability as well. This is the tank swap mechanic. Tanks, you guys have a really easy job. Position the boss intelligently, deal with Impale. But Impale is very easy to deal with because of the later chain hurl mechanic. So here they're going through it. Yeah, there's the Impale. So healers need to watch out for lots of damage on the tank during the Impale. pop a cooldown, Hand of Sack. I'm sure Schaumburg Sack will be all over it. Pain Suppress, whatever you need to do, but lots of heals on the tank. You see his HP dropping on the top left side there. Okay, and now there's a second Skull of Flame up right now. Very soon we're going to see a Berserker Rush. So you see this guy shifting over to the right side. Why? Now, whenever you guys I tell you guys one thing. Always assume the ability will be on you. You guys remember Thok? Remember all those other terrible abilities? Remember Heroic Shockwave? Whenever you're doing any kind of encounter where something may target you, there's a chance it'll target you. Murphy's friggin' law, it will always target you, no matter what. So, this guy, knowing that it's going to target him, oh look, guess what it did? He runs over here, next to the Flame Pillar. So, he's going to run behind the Flame Pillar, right here, and Kargan's actually going to run into the little Fire Flame Skull. So give it a sec here, and he's going to stop attacking, and that's what stops his Fixate. Now, if you let him beat on you, you're dead. It is straight physical damage. It's going to annihilate you. It'll absolutely murder your face. So, he stood next to the flame there to make sure it stops the kite. Again, we'll talk about position here in a second. Again, look, hey, look, see? Smart Raider right here. He knows the next one's going to fixate on him. Is he in the right spot? Pretty good spot. And this is a better spot to tank the boss initially. Again, it depends on which pillars you get, but yeah, I mean, this is a good central location to take the boss because, you know, you're ranged. You see a Warlock on the left side there casting Warlockery spells. And there's another Impale. So a tank switch. Now, this Chain Hurl right here. Chain Hurl will pick the 5 closest people. So it knocks everybody back right now. You saw... Let's go back here a second. It knocks everybody back. Knock them back. There. See, it knocks them out of the way here. Now, the closest 5 people are going to get chained. So, make a pretty balanced group. Call them your chain gang. Your chain gang is going to go up top. The closest 5 people during this cast, it should be a tank, a healer, and 3 DPS. Now, some DPS are better than others. Hunters are awesome at this. Then you want some kind of massive AoE damage. Boomkin, Death Knight would be great too. These guys can get whirled around here. Kargath with his big thing launches them up in the stands. This way forward. Now, for those of you that saw the Highmaul raid method, skipped it because they can just dodge stuff. But this is really good practice for you guys. So, get launched up here in the stands. The Hunter, or the Huntard as you guys keep calling him, runs to the left side to MD all of the adds to the tank with his barrage. His massive barrage that my Hunters like to piss me off with. They're disengaged back. And now the rest of the group runs the other way. So you're going to pick up every one of these adds, AoE the crap out of them. Some of them blow up, like the bombers here blow up. The grunts will slow you, and the big dudes, they have a big frontal stun. So I think you might see him getting stunned, maybe not. I guess they killed him. There. They killed everything really quick, and then they jump back down. He ran through fire, of course. So that is essentially the entire fight right there. You have your arena phase, and then you have your you're in the stands phase. That's essentially it in a nutshell. You know, always be aware of where you're standing. The flame pillars do despawn, though. As you saw the one on the right there, it did despawn. Again, Berserker Rush. This guy knew it was going to be on him because, of course, he assumed. And you see on the right side there's that tiger pit. Don't fight with Mike Tyson's tigers. Not a fun time. They will kill you. Like, you get one shot. Don't even bother.
Yeah, you fall in the pit, you die.
You fall in the pit. I mean, there's a bit of a ramp here. You slide in. You're like, oh, no. And then you die. That's it. So, I mean, you want to be spread out here. You know, witch killers will be great. Druids, of course. You know, priests, paladins will be okay. Mysteryverse, resto shamans will be okay as well. So you have the heals. Again, more pillars up right now. Always assume it's on you. There's the next Impale. I'm going to burn the boss some more here, I think. So it is a pretty straightforward fight. You know, for the melee, you know, you just DPS the boss. Unless you're in the chain gang, congrats. This is your patchwork-style dummy. So here they're going to get another chain hurl. You're going to get launched up in the air.
Don't stand in bad place, because sometimes if you stand in the wrong place with the tank, you're going to get thrown into a pit.
Yeah. So, yeah, they're going to get knocked up here again. So, same thing, he runs over the left side of the NMDs. Now, these drunken bile slingers, you guys see them? They have a frontal attack. Those are the ones that are shooting the green shit on the ground. On their left side there, you see some green stuff. Those are the guys that are spawning that shit on the ground. Again, minimizing the amount of room you have to move around. So, he's picking up all the bile slingers. He should get stunned here very soon, I'm pretty sure. because it is a frontal attack. He's casting right now, and maybe not. Maybe it was in a different video that he got stunned. And just be aware that some of these guys do blow up, so don't be standing near them. They have a little ticking grenade here. You'll see that there's a little timer, just as you guys saw on Spoils. You guys remember doing Spoils, and the big commanders, they threw bombs on you. Same kind of thing here. And they finish up the boss, but it is a pretty straightforward fight here. Just don't stand in bad. I mean, what would possess you to stand next to the tiger? Why would you stand so close to Tiger Pit is the first question I'll ask you guys.
I like tigers.
These are not the friendly kind of tigers. Now, I'll give you guys a quick little diagram. So while we do that, I'm going to close this video down. Yeah, so we're going to close the video down, and I want to show you guys a little... Where's my little... here, perfect. So this is a little diagram. Now, for those of you that would like to use MS Paint, use MS Paint if you want. But this is the diagram that I drew for you guys with bossblueprint.com. It has all the maps of all the different bosses, and here's a rough explanation of what's going on. So let me just make this a little bit larger so you guys can sort of see. There. So, I've marked the 4 sections of the pillars here with the blue marker, orange circle, purple diamond, and the red X. Those are where the things are. The bad circles are the tigers. That's bad. That is very bad. Now, if the boss is tanked where the skull is right now, and the tank is obviously that green shield, the melee want to position themselves in such a way that they don't get run over by the Berserker Rush. Again, he'll start Berserker Rushing, he will fixate to that person, you'll see that red line. Make sure as a melee you are not in his path, otherwise you get run over, and then, you look really dumb. And don't blame friggin', what is that rogue ability? The, whatever, the one that gets rogue killed all the time. I forget it right now. So, I've drawn a couple little diagrams of what to do here. So, in the video, you guys saw them go pretty much right behind those fire pillars. So, in the bottom one right there, there's 3 arrows going down, down, and then, a little bit to the green marker. You guys can sort of see this one here. That's one way to do it. Now, quick little tip on Mythic. If you guys see the blue circle right here... Okay, you guys can see my mouse here. But if you see the blue circle going all the way around the fire pit and then going towards the blue marker, on Mythic, you want to make that kite phase as long as possible. You want to extend it, because the longer the kite phase, the more favor of the crowd you get, which gives you a damage bonus to your raid, among, other things. So, if you think that that guy in your raid is slow as molasses and is going to die to some stupid shit because they're super... Killing spree, thank you. Killing spree always kills them, yes. Dying spree, thank you. Yeah, it's killing spree. So if you think that guy is really slow, Blessing of Protection will save their ass. Cast Blessing of Protection on them, they can, run away more slowly. So at some point during this kite phase, because he does speed up as he runs longer and longer, you would Blessing of Protection and then run around the top side here around the Tiger Pit and towards the blue square. So that is one thing. Again, Boss Blueprint is a great little website if you guys like drawing things. There is the Bracken Spore thing. There is Korag, for example, where you want to stand. It's a different version of it. Yeah, again, Boss Blueprint is nice. Otherwise, feel free to use MS Paint for your own drawings. Those are totally fine, too. Sparty, will you be the Chain Gang healer? Likely not. I'm probably going to send a Resto Druid up there, because more mobile healers, I don't want to just stand there. Well, I'm a less mobile healer, so likely we'll send a Resto Druid up there. But, that's kind of preparation that you do with your guild, though. Who are you going to send up? Which tank is going to go up? Which DPS is going to go up? So, Marksman already says, I'm going to send Ganner up there. So, Ganner apparently is going to be the stands hunter. To MD one side and run over the other side and whatever. Don't really care, But that kind of preparation saves you a lot of time. And with all bosses, having strats down, having people assigned who's going where, it makes it a lot easier. Now, I'm not saying to go to the extent where you guys have, crazy heroic cooldowns. Let me pull up my cooldowns here. So, if you guys remember our Mythic Garrosh cooldowns here, and this was our cooldowns, for the Desecrate, for the Iron Star. 12 seconds in, we get a Desecrate. 41 seconds in, we get an Iron Star. When to use your cooldowns, who's running them, where everybody's standing, for every single phase, that's cooldown assigned. I'm not saying you guys as average and, average heroic raiders need to do all this stuff, but the more preparation you do before the raid, the easier it'll be. Instead of, like, hey, you know what? We learned something. Yeah, but you know what? You could have learned that outside of raid. and you want to spend as much time raiding, progressing. Whenever you guys die to an encounter, whenever you wipe, totally fine. I mean, wipes are needed. You wipe sometimes 200 times to an encounter, 300 times, whatever. Every time you wipe, you should have learned something that wipe. The raid as a whole should have learned something. And it's not that, hey, Sparty dies, and then, clearly it's a mistake. We learn from it as a guild, and then, somebody else dies, and then he's like, well, I had no idea that was happening, but Sparty died to the same thing. You need to learn from each other's mistakes, right? They're always constant learning mistakes like that. Should we custom for the guild or one for the free options online? Either one works in Invoke, sorry. Ask me those questions later. When are Death Judges going to be recruiting again? We're a little close right now. Raid-related questions, guys. Raid-related questions. None of this, other stuff. Midgets, I lost this spreadsheet.
You can send an officer those questions if you want.
Yeah, talk to officers with those questions, or talk to Apply Thing, or talk to Aloria or somebody else. So moving on to the next boss here. We'll talk a little about the Butcher. Now, the Butcher is, or again, I'm not going to have time for all these bosses actually tonight. I'm going to have to finish off tomorrow, I think. So we're going to go through, I think half of Highmaul today, because I promised people Molten Core. So we're going to talk a little bit about Butcher. Butcher is a very basic tank and spank kind of encounter. I'm going to show you guys, this is Sparkug's video of Butcher here. So Butcher is pretty much a tank and spank. He's got I don't know, he's shifting onto this hand real quick here. Yeah, we're going through all of them, Emphy. Quit your bitching. So, Highmaul, Butcher, very easy encounter. The first one has a lot of tank abilities, basically, and where Guardian Druids and really where you can parry and dodge things makes it a lot easier. Right now, you see they have a ranged group right here in the back, and that's that for a reason. They also have 2 melee groups. Now, for the tank damage, for tank stuff that's going on, you have your sorry, not Impale, wrong one. There we go. You have his heavy-handed attack, which is split between people that are in front there, so the off-tank's taking damage. If you guys remember, I'm sure most of you don't, Mother Shiraz and Black Temple, similar mechanic that would split between people in front there.
Mother Shaz.
Mother Shaz with Shadow Resist gear.
Oh, I love her.
So you want to dodge and parry his cleaver as much as possible because it has a constant debuff as well that stacks. And then you have his other regular bleed debuff, so it's a lot of tanks hop back and forth, but a lot of active mitigation from your tanks on Butcher. Number 2, they have 2 melee groups. So with those 2 melee groups, you have one group of, X amount of people, another group of Y amount of people. Whichever group has more people is going to get stacks of Cleave. Cleave is a bleed debuff. It stacks up to, 5 times on, I believe, normal and heroic. Once you get to 5 stacks, you die. That's it. You have to control how many stacks you get, otherwise people are going to start dying. So what they do here, and again you can see it really quickly, or really efficiently, is they have people stacked exactly in on the blue marker or the orange marker. Now, if let's say you have 5 people on the blue marker, that group is going to get cleave stacks. If you have 4 people on the orange marker, that group is not going to get cleave stacks. So what you do is, let's say you have your 4 melee on each side, and you have 1 hunter at the blue marker, for example. They take 4 stacks. At 4 stacks, the hunter disengages out, and now the other hunter from the other side will run in. So hopefully you'll see that soon from this video. They're going back and forth. Yeah, there's a hunter on the... No, it's somebody else. There we go. So you see the hunter running in right now to the orange marker, and now that group is going to start taking cleaves. So they start taking cleaves now. I mean, the cleave wasn't working, I think, on... too well on... I guess it was working a little bit on this video. You see Group 1 is taking damage right now from the bleeds. The other thing that he does is this big knockback. After his knockback, he charges the a ranged group, the clumped up ranged group. And again, the cleave mechanic, you can't just have one person there because it splits damage based on how many people that are there. So right here they have a star marker, they're going to run towards their star, he's going to cleave towards the raid, he's going to charge towards them. In a second, there he goes, he's going to cleave them, and now they take, one tick of damage. And then it's back to start. That's it. Very simple Patrick-style encounter here, very easy to do. Beyond that, I mean, there's not much else to add. Again, normal and heroic mode, mythic adds a whole other flavor to it. But this will be your good test. This will be your Iron Juggernaut of DPS. For those of you wondering, what DPS should you be doing? Well, this will be your best kind of test because everyone, is really not moving much at all. There's not a ton of movement. There's very few people moving at all, besides the one knockback. So you see on the left side, well, there you go. They actually screwed up the stacks there, where one of them got too many stacks. So they had too many people on that side. So Nose, Noxy Rogue, and Ashvale died to the whirl there, or to the chain. Sorry, the cleave. But again, very simple encounter. Guild should have no problems with this one. This is one of the easiest encounters right now in Highmaul. The absolute easiest. Is there a short range timer on this boss? I can't remember what it is, honestly. But remember, at 30%, though, he does Frenzy. So he's frenzied right now. He's, all red. He attacks faster and everything else. And, likely that may be a good time for you to hero and start using your big cooldowns on the tanks and as well as on the melee groups. That last 30% burn, which is, depending on how many people you have in the raid, could be more or less damage. Windwalkers are solid big bad hoss. They're a great DPS right now. Can you dispel the bubble to bleed off? I can't recall if you can. I'm pretty sure you cannot. From one of the guides and from some experience, you could not bubble it. It will kill you if it reaches 5 anyway, so you have to let it expire. There's no going around it, and that's fine. Like I like how Blizzard has sort of nullified a lot of those immunities, and they did in the past couple tiers as well, where you can't immunity through something. You got an immunity, great, use it in PvP, but here you have to use everything you can, survive as much, and deal with those mechanics that way. But Butcher is a fairly simple mechanic, or simple boss, no issues with him at all. Sparty my group only has one range DPS, are we fucked? No. You can use, use healers, it doesn't matter. As long as you have people in melee range. Okay, use healers in there, that's fine, then they can run out. The only problematic thing would be, let's say you have, I don't know, too many melee, well then just, have bigger clumps of melee, but it's totally fine. But yeah, in Ariel, thank you, there. Yeah, you can definitely use healers for it instead. It depends. It depends, Balakir, on the kind of tank you are, which class of tank you are. They all have different separarities. What do you think the average DPS will be like on the boss during the first week? I'm not sure, MP. I'm not sure. You might see, 20,000 sustained. You might see 15,000, 18,000. We'll see in the raid setting, right? We're not sure exactly. A 5-man boss for a minute and a half is a lot different than a boss for 4.5 minutes with lots of movement involved as well. So we'll see, and we'll have, accurate measure of damage and how things are going this first week, which is why we're starting to normals, get some extra gear, then move into heroics, and then mythic eventually. But yeah, you can totally do whatever you want, Mushi. Who is Wizza? I have no idea who this Wizza person is. Cool. Okay, moving on to the next boss here. So next boss, we're going to move to... What should we move to? Tectis. Yeah. Now, Tectis is a fun little boss. Which video do I have here for you guys? Ready. I have the Icy Veins video. And the Icy Veins video is okay. It's a quick 5-minute video. I'm going to pause it at times here as well. You'll listen to the Russian's voice or whoever it is.
We're going to take a look at the fight against Tectis, one of the bosses.
So for those of you that have already heard this, great. Otherwise, you're going to hear it again.
Phase fight. In Phase 1, your raid will fight Tectis.
Yeah, so, initially in Phase 1, you have this one big boss, you have his main abilities, and depending on how many of these little things you guys have, there'll be more and more abilities. So, Phase 1 is the easy phase. Different ways to handle this first phase. The first way is just stack the entire range group together, and you'll see why. And another way is to just split up the group and just sort of collapse on one side. Depends on what kind of strat you want to run with. I really like the stacked strat because you always control where the abilities are going to spawn. It just requires really quick reaction times from your raiders. So if your your raiders are 40, 60, 80 years old, sorry, I shouldn't have said 40, but if they're they're really really slow to move. I'm not saying that grandmothers are slow, but they could be. You may not want to use the stack strat for it. But you can't hear the voice. What do you mean you can't hear it?
Killed, he will split up into 2 shards of Tectis. 2 new bosses, in effect.
So you see how this big orange circle, or the big brown circle, the big poop circle, that's where a big spike is going to come up. Now, the spike is problematic because it causes line of sight issues. You don't want to spawn one in the middle of the raid. That is the worst possible spot. So where do you spawn the first one? Right by the wall, ideally, as close to the wall as possible.
Turn, when these shards of Tectis are killed, they will each split up into 4 motes of Tectis, constituting Phase 3. The fight ends when all the motes of Tectis are killed. To kill Tectis and end Phase 1 is not as simple as it might appear. Tectis has an energy bar that keeps increasing, and normally he cannot be killed. When his energy reaches 100, its maximum capacity, he will begin casting Tectonic Upheaval. This is a channeled spell that does raid-wide damage.
There's the
While
big spike again.
Tectonic Upheaval is being channeled, Tectus becomes temporarily killable. If the channel of Tectonic Upheaval finishes and Tectus has not been killed, he will heal up for a relatively small amount and will start generating energy from zero once again. Therefore, during Phase 1, your raid's goal really is to bring Tectus low on health, and once Tectonic Upheaval is being channeled, finish him off.
And that's
Depending on
Tectonic
your
Upheaval right
DPS
now,
and
that big
final
stomp.
tuning, this might take a few cycles. Throughout Phase 1, Tectus also casts a number of other abilities. Crystalline Barrage is a reddish cloud that damages players who come in contact with it and which follows a targeted player around. This is
Now in beta, the crystalline cloud, whatever, that was a giant bitch, and it was really hard to see for a lot of players. There were also a lot of camera issues for the range and healers in general because of the stupid wall behind us. I don't think that was fixed, so expect your camera issues your camera to be really, really crappy. You will not see a
something that
lot.
players need to stand out of, and whoever is being followed by it needs to take it in a safe path. Two other of Tectus's abilities cause spikes of earth to come out of the ground, damaging players
There's
at
Tectonic
that
Upheaval again.
location. Fracture causes small spikes of earth to come out of the ground, dealing a small amount of damage to players hit by it and knocking them back. Earthen Pillar, the area effect of which is very large, as you can see here, causes a large earth spike to come out of the ground, which
Okay,
kills.
let's pause it there for a second. Do you need to know what all those earthen pillar, earthen spike, earthen dildo are? You really don't. If there is shit in the ground, don't stand in it. I guarantee it's really bad. You will probably die if you stand in bad stuff. Whether it's brown or red or whatever, you will die. So again, the big circle, that is this big spike that stays up. The small circles, they're not going to kill you, but they'll do quite a bit of damage, knock you up in the air, and being knocked up in the air sucks. The red little, the red little clouds or whatever, they follow a random ranged or healer around, and they emanate from the boss. So you see them right here on the left side. They're following, I think that's a boomkin or an ogre or some fat ass. Yeah, so they're following the boomkin there to the left side, and he's cutting the one direction. So what is typical strat for this? Well, if the group is stacked in together, you know exactly where that pillar is going to spawn. Stack in tight, then as soon as you see it, get the hell out of there, because it'll kill you, it'll one-shot you. If you have the cloud debuff on you, make sure you run the opposite direction. So what most guilds were doing, and what we like to do on beta, is we stack them in one position. So we stack together on the side there, right along the wall. You would see it spawn, you move to the left. But if you had the flames on you, or the little smoke cloud, you'd run to the right side. There you see the mage cast Ice Block. I don't think it removed his debuff there. But I guess it's worth a try as well. Yeah, too long to read style, pretty much. I mean, you don't need to know all these things as normal heroic raiders. So basically, how to kill him, once he reaches, 100 energy, he does his Tectonic Upheaval. That is the only time you can kill him. If you get him down to 0%, guess what? He doesn't die. He stays alive, and he'll heal up a little bit during his Tectonic Upheaval. That's when you kill him. So, once you kill him the first time, now there are two of these little bastards. Two of these little bastards doing the exact same abilities. This is where the fight starts getting a lot more complicated. The first phase is super easy. I mean, if you're having issues in the first phase, you're going to need a lot more practice. Card, thank you for subbing. Much appreciated, and welcome. Thanks a ton. Thanks to Crapton. Card, welcome. So, right now there's two of them. They are the motes of Tectus. Motes or shards? No, they're shards of Tectus. Now there's two medium-sized guys. Well, each of those medium-sized guys are now doing the same abilities. There is now, two of these little clouds. There's two spikes coming up, and it's a giant bitch. If they're close together, they get accretion. Was that mythic? I can't remember. But basically, you want to focus one down, ideally, and then blow it up. Again, they can only die during Tectonic Upheaval. So right now it's casting. You see it on the bottom right there. They're casting Tectonic Upheaval. They're about to kill this one. And guess what? Your shard splits up into even more. Now you have 4 little shit rocks. Okay? You have 4 more little shit rocks spawning, or 2 more, whatever. Yeah, there's 4 more. Perfect. Yeah. So now you have all these little shit bags, all split up, and now each of these little guys are also doing these abilities. So now you have 5, 8, however many adds. This is just a YOLO, free-for-all, run away. There's tons of stuff on the ground. Every man for himself. Stay alive. Kill whatever you can. Keep the tanks alive, kind of last phase. It's very, very hectic. There's two ways to really handle this phase. Number one is if let's go back here for a second. They're going to deal with the shards here, hopefully. So if you let's move forward here a little bit here. Yizao, thank you for subbing as well. Much appreciated, and welcome back, Yizao. Welcome back. Accretion is heroic, yeah. I mean, accretion isn't a huge deal on heroic. From the beta, it wasn't a big deal in terms of straight damage. So you have these shards. Now, what guilds may want to do is you may want to focus one down, and then once it dies, it spawns 4 little adds, right? Well, now you only have five abilities to deal with, or I mean, really the 5 rounds of abilities, right? Instead of dealing with 8, you only deal with 5. You AoE the crap out of those 4 little ones, or even the big one too, and then those ones are gone for good. At that point, you're only left with the 1 shard, which makes it quite a bit easier. So we're going to see, I mean, this was on beta. We don't know how much more tuning they've done. It may be that they made it a little bit easier. We might not be able to AoE it, so you might have to go single target on the shards, and then it turns into 4 motes, or you might have to, just AoE all of it down. Guilds did it differently on beta. I would prefer, I always prefer the finesse rather than the AoE method, but we'll see. Again, it is a giant, YOLO, just run for yourself. I know it's a terrible word. But look how many, right now, guys, look how many of those big-ass circles right now are about to spawn. And now the entire raid is effectively cut off. They've split the raid off because there's so much shit on the ground. Yeah, not fun. Not fun at all. But, I mean, that is a totally viable strat, as long as it, gets you the boss kills. So, that being said, whenever you guys are looking at these kinds of videos, tailor the strat to your group comp. One guy said, I don't have any ranged. Tailor the strat to your group comp. Here they killed him, great. Again, that now it's down to 1 shard on the other side. And, which, then splits off into, little motes. So tailor the strat to your guild, to what you're doing. I mean, it totally depends on, your composition, what your raiders are comfortable with. I know what my guild is comfortable with, and what, where they're always really lacking, or, where they're really strong. So yeah, this is there's the Icy Veins guide. I mean, tactics will be a bit of a cluster. Expect that one to be more of your raid tester, your standing in shit kind of raid tester, your app tester, whatever. If people are dying or really standing in shit, well, what were they doing? Why was your DPS so important? Why couldn't you move out of that big circle? And then you ask them, nice DPS, bro, how's the floor? Right? How much DPS do you do when you're dead? 0. So again, that fight is all about survivability, surviving really, and then positioning the right stuff in the right position. So again, that big circle on Butcher, on Tectis, you want to place together, run out of it, and then run the smoke away from the rest of the group. Last things to mention for that boss, there's adds that spawn as well. Now those adds need to be tanked and absolutely destroyed. It's actually one of the only encounters that you may... Let me put a video up here again. Actually, one sec. We'll put up the video one more time here. Just for you guys. Now, you guys see these little adds spawning right here. There's 2 types of adds. There's the big dudes and the small dudes. They're not a huge issue. The small dudes need to be absolutely annihilated. Like, just kill them really quickly. They have a flechette cannon. They do like 100,000 damage frontal attack. So as a tank, you need to position them in such a way that doesn't destroy your raid, obviously. It's an unlimited range. You can't avoid it. Don't face them towards the raid. Oh, I mean, tank 101, guys. Don't face things towards raid. Number 2 is that big dude right here. He's not as dangerous, but they do need to die pretty quickly. This was tuned pretty well. I mean, they were just destroying them. The big dude does charge your raid, randomly charges your raid and does some damage because he loses threat. Like, randomly he'll say, hey, you know what, I don't want to be tanked anymore. He's going to go charge somebody else, and then your caster dies.
What makes the int flasks and the int potions big?
I can't remember. I think it's Starflower.
Aren't you on...
Never
mind, I'll check.
So again, you want to blow up those ads really quick here. Each of the one-shot rock things have fixed spawn points, so it's easy enough to work out where they spawn them. Is that so?
No, they spawn where your raid is.
Yeah, I was quite sure that they would spawn exactly in the middle of wherever somebody's standing.
They
I don't think they have fixed spawn points. I mean,
definitely-
I could be wrong there. I mean, Talawar might know. On beta it was bogged, but you need to kill 8 smalls. Yeah, you have to kill all 8 smalls. Thank you, Talawar. For sure. What other questions here? Tech is a healing check as well as how smart you are check. Yeah, it's a lot of things. One thing we did on beta too was we had everybody, we would try to one-shot where everybody would split up. And then during Tectonic Upheaval, everybody would run to melee. That was nice because, you know, people wouldn't die to getting hit by the big stupid spike. But at the same time, it causes a lot of movement. And when you're moving, you're not healing, you're not DPSing. So it is a big DPS and healing loss. It's a 6x6 grid? Yeah, I can see that. I mean, they're not overlapping, right? Because, I mean, if you guys can sort of see these... Let's go back for a second here. They're not overlapping at all. So I think Talawar might be right there, where they just spawn in a 6x6 grid, and any one of those spots, wherever your raid is standing in one of those spots, that's where they're potentially going to spawn. Yeah, I mean, it doesn't really truly matter. It does a little bit. But again, you know, wherever you're spawning in that 6x6 grid, the 36 spots, that's where one's going to spawn. Remember, always assume it's going to spawn on you. Be prepared for it. You know, when you're DPSing, when you're healing, be prepared for those things. And again, here are the modes. You got to kill all 8 again in order to defeat the boss, and then you defeat the boss. They didn't have a ton of HP, so you could AoE them. You know, there's a Cataclysm going off right now, a red fire Cataclysm for some reason. But yeah, I mean, this will be a bit of a cluster F for most guilds, but totally doable with the gear you guys have on normal or really heroic dungeon gear, which is 634. I could up my mic volume. It's already mostly max. I can't turn it up anymore right now. Yeah, it was a video. It was a video right now. It's not me actually doing the fight here.
They gave you special access just for saying.
What do you think about the stagnated release? I think it's good. Fat Panda, I think it's totally fine. I don't mind it. Because people time to prep, you know, get ready for the encounters. It also staggers
And
LFR.
register, like, what just happened.
What?
Well, people need time to, like, register a fight in their brain and, like...
Yeah. I mean, there's only the bleeding edge content guys, you know, the top 100, top 200 guilds. They're, you know, quick learners, but the average raider, you know, they may not finish stuff until Blackrock comes out. But now it should be a little bit more staggered. You know, it's not overwhelming where it's like 14 bosses, go. Which one do I go to? Which one's easier? It's a little bit more staggered like Mogushan Vaults was, to Heart of Fear, to Terrace. But it'll be a little bit slower because that expansion was really quick, really rushed Tier 14. Yeah, we'll always be streaming. We'll always be streaming our raids here. Normal, heroic, mythic, whatever. And even those of you that are subs, you guys remember that I'll be raiding with you guys. I'll be creating the alliance groups. We'll be running on personal loot. I'll be running with you guys through normal, eventually heroics, and so forth. So you guys will have the opportunity to raid. Just make sure you guys sign up on the sub forums, you know, all that other stuff. So let's move on to Bracken Spore. Bracken Spore, we're going to go use the Icy Veins video as well. I'm going to give you guys a quick rundown of how the encounter works. I may or may not use their voice, but I'm definitely going to use their video here. Icy Veins, again, guys, is a great resource for you guys. They have great video guides there. Good basic stuff for you guys to start getting into raiding, whether it be class stuff or raid-oriented things. So, it's a little loud there. Okay, let's go to the Bracken Spore. Again, so Butcher, Tectus, and Bracken Spore are optional bosses. You don't actually have to kill them. You only have to kill 4 bosses. You need to kill Kargath, you need to kill Twin Oberons, Korag, and then the Imperator. So, this is the fight. It is a huge area. Bracken Spore is this giant... What is a Bracken Spore? Is it like a plant? It's a big spore thing, I guess. Mm-hmm. Yeah, Bracken Spore... wouldn't have that much trouble with Bracken Spore. He had a ton of HP on the difficulties. Even when he did it on LFR, he had a ton of HP. So essentially, he's, you know, a multiple tank encounter. There's a tank swap. He has a frontal attack. Again, tanking 101. Don't ever face anything towards your raid. Otherwise, you're not going to have a fun time. You have these little ads that spawn. These little spore shooter things. They shoot spores, as you can see here in the middle there. Your ranged DPS needs to blow them up. Just absolutely annihilate them. Yeah, you see the boss being moved here, away from the green moss. The green moss spawns all around the room. It'll grow, because plants grow. You see, again, the green moss on the left side here. 2 of your players, I believe it's 2 on normal and heroic, will have flamethrowers. Flamethrowers buff your haste and your, I think it's haste and something else by a lot if you use them. But your main job is controlling the Moss. If the Moss gets out of control, for those of you that did Heroic Ragnaros back in Firelands, remember the sweepers? You were sweeping up the fire. Same kind of thing here. Your main job is controlling the Moss. If the Moss is under control, the fight is easy. Remember what I said earlier? Isolating abilities, turning it into a tank and spank. So you guys are the team players. You might do less damage here. You might, because of the flamethrowers. But your main job is, again, dealing with the Moss. Now, what happens? There's a big ad that spawns here, the Fungal Flesh Eaters. They're not a big deal. You feel free to cleave them down. They take increased damage, but, it wasn't a huge deal in beta either way. Yeah, Moss. So you see the Moss growing pretty quickly here, and then the flamethrower destroying them pretty quick. For those of you that are using the flamethrowers, please communicate with your partners. It's on an all cooldown kind of flamethrower. You can't use it like non-stop and just run around shooting things on fire. You have to alternate it, or depends on where the Moss is spawning from. Here they're spawning. It's spawning from one area, which makes it really easy. Classes that have speed boosts may make it find a little bit easier too. Hunters as well. If you guys have any tips on what are the classes you guys had a lot of success in beta, Talaror, whoever else, feel free to chime in with the best flamethrower users. So again, there's a Fungal Flesh Eater. He can be off-tanked as well. Now remember, it's a frontal attack, right? So you don't want to have two tanks on top of each other because both of them get hit by the frontal attack. So they need to be split off like this. One tank tanking the boss, one off to the side there. As you can see here, you see the Guardian Druid on the other side tanking the Fungal Flesh Eater. Cleave it down, dot it up. It's not a big deal. Kill it eventually. Now, there's two other ads that spawn. Again, we mentioned those Spore Shooters as well. And hopefully we see one of these mushrooms very soon here. Hopefully it spawns. Yeah, that one's dead. Next one's going to be spawning soon. You guys will see a Fungal Flesh Eater come up from the right side here in a second. Okay, right there. So you guys saw right here. There. On the right side there's this big, ugly brown mushrooms. Don't go picking the bad mushrooms. These mushrooms, if you are too close to them, they will slow your casting speed by 75%. So it takes forever to cast. If they spawn on you, and they do spawn on people, assume it's going to spawn on you, move away from it, have your DPS kill it. The first iteration of Bracken Spore, whenever a caster would attack, you would get a slow speed. So you'd have your melee run off to it. Again, those are a high priority target for your DPS. Kill those quickly, and then the Spore Shooters then get back on the boss and cleave the Fungal Flesh Eater. That is DPS priority. Mushrooms, Spore Shooters, Fungal Flesh Eater can be cleaved and then the boss. But you see getting destroyed here. Now for the healers have two really cool things. You see a big blue mushroom on the right side there. Now they start off as small little blue mushrooms or green trees or whatever. You heal them to full, and they give your raid a huge buff. So you'll see what happens. The blue one gives you increased haste and restores your mana regen. So you see the entire raid run all the way over here. You can even bring the boss over here if they decided to. They get a huge buff. It restores all their mana for the healers. It's a lot of AoE healing as well. And there's a green one on the left side. You heal the green one, and the green one heals anybody within 20 yards by a crap ton. So keep it healed, and it'll heal your raid, especially during his main AoE attack. These mushrooms, the green and blue ones, though, they do dissipate over time. They do take self-damage, and they'll be more and more damage, and you can't keep them up forever. For those of you wondering why don't I just keep it up the entire time? Well, you can't. They do spawn in different places, and just deal with them that way. There you go. You see another spore thing on the right side there. So they have to move away, right? They can't stand there with the blue mushroom. They have to move away from it, then DPS, and they can stand in, between blue and green here and get both. So as healers, you need to be paying attention, both tank damage, raid damage, as well as which of the, which of the mushrooms have spawned. So again, communication. When you guys see Mind Guild do this fight, it'll be a lot of communicating. Hey, there's a green one behind us, green one to our right, whatever. And let's go back here for a second now. Let me look for one of these abilities. Probably right around here. Yeah, okay, right around here. So you'll see the boss do a lot of damage here in a second. So right now they're about to use a lot of raid cooldowns, and he does this ability. I'm trying to remember what it's called again. Let me pull it up here. Bracken Spore, it is his Infesting Spores, yes. Infesting Spores does 2,000 damage, stacks up every second, stacks up to 10 times in the last 3 seconds. I mean, it's a lot of raid damage. So at that point is when you want to use your cooldowns. Again, if you guys really want to prep, assign which cooldowns you'll be using for which Infesting Spores. Beyond that, I mean, go back here for a second. You'll see the raid take a lot of damage. They're all stacked in. They got a green mushroom to the left here. They really could be and should be a little bit closer to the left side here, on the left side. Because again, those mushrooms will heal your raid. It's going to help your raid a ton. Really, really benefit you. And there's the, there's the creeping moss getting closer. Now again, if that creeping moss does overwhelm the raid, if it reaches the boss heals. So all your damage, all your healing was for naught. You need to really control that moss. I mean, that's the entire fight. It's not that bad. Again, isolating all those mechanics to make it a tank and spank for you guys. It's a fairly decent encounter. It's fairly fun. As a flamethrower person, it's either fun or you hate the job. I'm not sure who's going to do it in our guild right now. We had, I think, Schaumburg, then a Hunter, then Branhista run the flamethrowers. So, we'll see. I mean, you got to find out who's the best. And I'll talk to some other people here as well as to who's best for flamethrowers and that kind of stuff. But decide. I mean, know who's going to do it. Okay. So that's Bracken Spore in a nutshell. Any questions about these bosses so far, let me know. Does the green mushroom heal the boss if it's too close? It does not. No, it only heals your players there, Potato. Only yours. Yeah, I mean, it shouldn't be that bad of a boss fight. I mean, he has a ton of HP, though. In beta, on one of the iterations, you could keep the big guys up for almost ever, because their damage debuff wasn't doing much, and the new one would spawn once this one was at 15%, so you have to burn it down. Cowface, I would love to, but I can't right now. I really got to dedicate this stream today to these boss encounters. Sorry, man. Ask me later. I will totally be more than happy to help you out. Just I can't right now. Oh, yes, the Apex. Yeah, I remember this Apex guild. For sure. Okay. Okay, so moving on to the next boss here. Twin Ogrins. Twin Ogrins is a fun fight. Super, super, super duper fun. Let me pull up the Icy Veins guide here again for you guys. Twin Ogrins. Let's pull it up. Okay. So in a nutshell, there are these two big-ass ogres. I really should subscribe to them because, they put out some decent content. So, sorry, that's a bit of a early pull. Let's go right here. So, there's these two giant ogre-looking things based off of Homer's Odyssey. Who's cultured? Maybe some of you might know Homer's Odyssey. So one of them does a whirlwind, the other one does flames and stuff, enfeebling roar. There's a lot of abilities here, but they're quite simple. Now when you're tanking them, it's a 2-tank encounter. I don't believe you need to tank swap at all. Pretty sure you don't. We didn't tank swap, right? No, we don't. There's lots of fire here. You see these guys running through fire because they're so cold apparently.
Chilly.
Number one thing you guys need to do here is, remember, again, like Tectis, if there's shit on the ground, don't stand in it. Don't stand in it as well. I mean, there's fire, there's other little rocks on the ground. If they're on the ground, don't stand it. You won't take damage. So, I mean, there's quite a bit of movement here with the fires. Yeah, they're a little bit quick. You might want to use Devotion or as your cooldowns, personals, whatever. Now, you see Phemos here. This one, he's spinning around. You can sort of see it on the window here. He does a whirlwind. If you're standing by him during a whirlwind, if you're not the tank, you take a lot of damage, you probably die. That is a bad idea. Definitely a bad idea. Boss positioning, we used a whole different boss position compared to this. Again, it depends on what you want to do. They want to do a raid stacked here. We move them off to the side, and we move the axis to a different place. You can sort of control where the shit's going to land and how to deal with the fire, which makes it a lot easier. Again, avoid the fire there, disengage into the fire. Run over the fire again. Now, what is ideal here? When you guys have they do share a health pool. What you want to do is bring them together. There is almost no disadvantage to bring them together. It's way more damage, just way more. These guys have them split apart. Oh, this is Penguin's Guild. Oh, this is awesome. Yeah, this is Apex. It's a great guild. So there. Now, what happens is the other dude, Pole, he does a shield charge. He will charge the furthest potential person. Here they have it set up where it will charge the tank, which is totally fine, because if he charges through the raid, the entire raid gets hit. Efimos really does just what a roar here, and then the last thing he does is his enfeeble. So enfeebling roar is a damage increase ability, and based on how many people, so you'll see it right here in a second. Okay, so this one does an enfeebling roar. The more people that are getting hit by this roar, the less time it lasts, and the less effective it is. So if only the tank takes the enfeebling roar, he's going to get destroyed, and it's going to last 2 minutes. It'll be pretty much impossible to heal. Whereas if you bring this boss over here to the raid, and the entire raid gets hit by it, it lasts 33 seconds. It's not as effective. Everybody takes it. I mean, it's not a big deal. So you want to maximize how many people get hit by this enfeebling roar. If you're tanking them together, that's fine too. What we did on our strats is we had a hunter as a bait person. So Pole, I believe this dude, would always charge the hunter and not the raid. But again, this is a very viable strat right here where they have the boss in the middle. Do you split off for certain abilities? Yes and no. I mean, again, one has the whirlwind. So the light colored dude has the whirlwind, and he has the enfeebling roar, which means you need to bring him in. So run him out for whirlwind and bring him back in for enfeebling roar. You can keep them together if you want. Again, it is potential maximized damage. Just watch out for the shield charge. It hits the furthest potential person. We have a hunter, again, running out on the outside, so it always hits the hunter, then he runs back, which is totally fine. You need to watch out for the tank damage here. Again, there's a shield charge coming. Right there, it started shield charge to the raids. You need to watch out where you're standing. What else? There's the whirlwind. You'll see it on the left side here, or behind. You see him spinning around. Perfect. And the group is fairly close together right now to maximize healing output. He also does an interrupting shout. The interrupting shout interrupts you, stop casting during it. If you're running VEM again, fantastic add-on. Make sure you interrupt, you stop your cast rather. You're not running Aspect of the Fox, obviously. Fire does move that way. Sure it does. So again, depends on what kind of strat you want to run with. Both are viable. We brought them in together for most of the time, then we ran them away for Whirlwind. Those little rocks on the ground as well, you guys will see. So again, infielding shout, he brings them in. Here comes the shout. It is a quick 20-yard range. Okay, and then you split off of both damage or both bosses. Get more stuff going on. And they died of fire here, some of them. There's a shield charge, and I just want to show you guys some of the rock abilities here. Let me find them. I hit them early on, I think. It's right after the fire, right prior to the fire. There's these brown circles on the ground again, always brown circles. Hopefully we'll see them very soon here. Yeah, there's the enfeebled again. Anyway, so these falling rocks. And there's a big one on the left side. There you go, perfect. So it has a bunch of little small rocks and one big rock, which will absolutely destroy you. Don't stand in bad stuff. Fire, rocks, which is really both of those bosses there. Yeah, VEM. VEM is awesome. VEM is a voice encounter mod. Basically, it is an audible version, or a much more audible version of DBM. It's no longer being, made, but if you have the older versions of VEM, they still work, and you guys can download them as well. So they did discontinue VEM, like Jack Solom says here, but that link still works, my VEM still works, and it should work through all of Highmaul. Again, audible warnings are much more effective than visual ones.
There's another mechanic that should not traverse the raid stack. Normally, it will either target the tank of the other boss, or it will target a designated player who stands at range with a damage mitigation cooldown just to attract a shield charge.
Yeah, so, we had our hunter there.
Famous casts Enfeebling Roar. This ability affects all players within 20 yards of the boss, splitting a 300% damage taken increase among them. This damage taken increase lasts for
I agree, Martin, I agree.
seconds, but this duration is also split among the affected targets. In effect, this means that if the entire raid is stacked on the boss when Enfeebling Roar is cast, then everyone will only receive a small damage taken increase for a small amount of time.
There you go. Same thing I said earlier.
Energy, Pole,
so they're all energy-based abilities anyway, so you see his interrupting shout right now.
Interrupt and lock out any players that are in the middle.
There you go, interrupts them.
When it happens, and it also deals some physical damage to all enemies. Finally, 100 energy, Femos casts Quake. He throws
And there's the
down
Quake
his
ability,
weapons
yes.
at locations on the ground, inflicting damage to all players, and then from each weapon, several moving waves of fire spawn. These waves travel in almost erratic patterns along the floor.
Almost erratic.
Many
Dread
of them
Flames.
will
Do you guys remember
be
Dread
damaged,
Flames
some will be
on our
damaged,
command?
and they will
They were
have
not erratic
static
patterns. They were
fire
predictable
dogs.
patterns. Don't let anybody tell us,
They
tell you
simply
differently.
need to be avoided. At 100 energy, Paul casts Pulverize. This is a 3-stage ability. In the first stage, Pulverize
And this is the
causes
rocket
each
blade that I
player
was
to
talking about
deal
earlier.
damage to anyone within 3 yards of them, so the raid needs to spread out a bit in preparation. The second phase of Pulverize causes chunks of the ceiling to fall at designated
third one will be the big
locations
one.
on the ground, dealing damage to anyone within 8 yards of them. These simply need to be avoided by players. And finally, in its third phase, Pulverize causes a large chunk of the ceiling to
There you
fall
go.
in one location. This deals raid-wide damage, but players will take more damage the closer they are to the impact location. Again,
So, good point there is the closer you are to the impact, the more damage you take. The further you are away, the less damage you take. So again, minimizing damage from that stuff. Best site. Fix those paladin forums. Fix them, Anoriel. Fix them. Okay, so we're done with Twin Ogruns. Again, a fairly simple fight in general. Why it is? Oh, the voice. I don't know. So any other questions? If you're feeling just raid has to tank it, as you don't want 300% damage. Enfeebling just the raid has to tank it, as you don't want 300% damage for 30 seconds. So that's what I said, yeah. So again, in this, where is it? The Enfeebling Roar here from Phemos. It's 300% extra damage for 300 seconds, split up between how many people you have in the raid. So, again, if more people take it, it's only like 30% more damage, which is totally doable for like, 30 seconds. Again, much easier to do. Yeah, sorry, that's Nightbot, man. Sorry. Spartan everyone, can I show a garrison build setup? I can't. Right now, no, I can't. Well equipped. Ask me later on. Right now, we're focused on bosses right now. Bosses. And I was supposed to do Molten Core as of, like...
Well, I told...
Just tell them I'm running a little bit late here.
That...
I'm talking too much, I know. Okay, we're going to move on to Korag here. Korag is a super duper fun boss. Where's Del's video here? Korag. So Korag, guys, is where the shit gets fun. We pull up Del's videos. Hopefully I can pull these up. Sons and Friends. Where are these videos? Oh, sorry, that's a little loud.
They're all making fun of you now.
So never. Here we go, Korag. Okay. So we're going to look at this video here. Korag is a really fun encounter. I've got 2 bosses to go before we do Molten Core here, for those of you looking to do Molten Core. So Korag is a really fun encounter. Lots of shit going on, lots of things to know, but again, isolating abilities to make sure it's a simple tank and spank for all of you guys. Stop making fun of me. Let's put on the decent quality here. 1080p, perfect. Okay, so initially, Korag is, this big ogre dude. He's got a lot of magic spells. The first one you see here, I'm not going to go through phase by phase. The first one, he has different types of elements. The first one is a flame, and they're on triggered timers. It's not random which one he casts. It's, every single one after another at a certain time period. So this one right here was the flame one. The flame one, once it's dispelled, or once it expires, it does damage to everybody within 8 yards. You guys get that? So after, it does raid damage here, but after 8 yards. Sorry, within 8 yards. You saw a raid window there. So what you can do is mass dispel your melee as long as they're split up. If all the melee are stacked together and you mass dispel them, they're all dead. You've killed them. Or, as we tried in beta, if you stack in together with the entire raid and mass dispel, you all die. And that was a fun learning experience too. There's always going to be a VOD of this and a highlight of these Coaches Corners Dota Dimes. Always will be. Plus, we have our blog. I'm sure it's not ready right now, but it'll have all these pictures, all these videos, all that stuff there for you guys. Yeah, our YouTube's not working right now. We do have a YouTube, though. We just can't upload the video as Freezing Hero. Okay, so Korag, again, is a fun encounter. You need to have a fairly balanced composition for this encounter. You need enough melee and enough magic casters. So, if you guys can't really see the meters here. For those of you, wondering when we were doing this encounter, people were like, "Why are there no casters here? Why do casters suck now?" No, basically has a magic shield. If you are a melee person, you do damage to his life. But if you're a caster, Shadow Priest, Mages, Warlocks, some Rets, Death Knights, whatever, you are doing magic damage. That magic, or holy damage, or whatever, goes towards his shield. Once his shield is broken, he goes into phase 2. He goes through phase 2 multiple times. There. So right now he's in phase 2. During phase 2, he runs to the middle. Once he runs to the middle, the first person to get into contact with him gets a cool little ability that allows him to soak balls, because there's all these balls that fall down. You need these ball soakers, not cork soakers. You need ball soakers, again, like Lei Shen, like whatever else, in order to mitigate raid damage. So what you do is you have one DPS player, Warlocks can be good at this, Shadow Priest can be pretty good, Hunters can be pretty great as well. I'm guessing Marksman wants to do this. They run in there, they stay in there, they take a lot of damage, like it's constant damage. They also take less healing received. So you bomb your heals on that person. And here I believe Serth, their hunter, looks like, is right in the middle there, is taking a lot of damage and just getting destroyed in heals. So you keep that person inside. The longer that person stays inside, the bigger the absorb shield. That absorb shield is going to have like 15 million, in absorbs. Because each of these balls that come down do 1.5 million damage. You cannot stand inside the barrier there, getting a higher stack with bubble, with your cooldowns. They do not work inside there. They don't work at all. Yeah, you'll see an expel. Yeah, there's a frost orb right there. Again, that's the different types of magic abilities that he has. And there you see suppression fields. I have to go through them in a second. So he has it. So now Serth, wherever he is, he's running through these balls there. You see right here, guys, in the top left corner of your screen, Serth has now ran over to one of the green puddles on the ground, and there should be a ball coming down on his head in a second because he's the ball soaker. There you go. So he's about to intercept that with his face. Because he has such a big absorb shield on him, he will not die. But somebody else, like a paladin, like a tank, even if you have that much life, you will die. So there, he soaks it. The raid does not take damage now, which is perfect. Another ability that he has is this suppression field. So you see them on the left side here. He charges toward a random ranged or healer, which means who's going to target? You guys, every one of you. So position yourselves intelligently. You guys see where they have these markers here? Those are good spots, potentially for a suppression field. Very good spots. You don't want to spread them all over to the side there. You definitely don't want to spawn a suppression field at the wall. But those suppression fields will silence anything that stands in them as well as do damage. So here they are again. There's another flame debuff. Perfect. Next vulnerability. So they're about to get into the next phase here in a second. Their magic debuff expires. He's about to run to the middle. So now as a melee, make sure you're not in his path. You see the size of his shield. You see it getting smaller and smaller and smaller. Once he's about to expire, you can run out. Don't get hit by the shield, because melee are terrible at it. There you see Sereth in the background there, also soaking more balls, the biggest ball soaker ever. And all the suppression fields right now are on one side, which is great. They're not using the entire room. They're controlling where these suppression fields spawn. So we'll see where they're going to spawn them. Okay, he runs to the middle. Perfect, another nullification barrier. Iza, the next hunter. Again, hunters are mobile DPS. They do this very effectively. Now these anomalies spawn. Whenever an anomaly dies, so there should be, I think, 9 or 12 anomalies spawning, 3 at a time. Whenever one anomaly dies, it does 15,000 damage to the raid. If you kill 3 at a time, 45,000 damage. That's a lot of damage right away. So what you do with these anomalies is bring them to the suppression field. Silence the enemy. So what they do here is they actually wait for all of them. This is a pretty good strat here. They wait for all of them to spawn. So they're waiting, 3, 6. They're dotting them lightly here. 9, whatever. Is it 12? It could be 12. 12. All 12 are spawning. The little guardian tanks got them all up here. They've slowed them with the traps. Now he's going to run them to the suppression field. They're going to run. Watch the death grip here in a second. Death grip. Maybe, yeah, there's a death grip. Then you stun them, because they're stunnable. You AoE the crap out of them, and they do 0 damage to the entire raid. Awesome, right? I mean, that's how you counter that ability. Always kill those anomalies in there. The other way to deal with those anomalies is if you have the raid group up. You see where that Shadow Priest is? So if all of the anomalies have to come towards you, then they're going to get silenced anyway. That's one way to deal with it as well. But here what they did is a really effective strat where they're able to just, pick them all up and, kill the crap out of them. At the same time, this point is where your range DPS need to be destroying the boss during this channeled phase, which lasts 20 seconds. The melee, again, you know, helping out with the ads or whatever. There's another suppression field. You see it hits somebody and then it spawns. Now, the other... So you see right now, Expel Magic on Xperia. Or Xperia, whatever. Whenever the Arcane one spawns, or the Arcane debuff, the tank has to switch, that's the tank switch mechanic in this fight, and run the hell away. If you don't, you blow up everybody else that's near you. So you see him just bolt out of there. Let's go back a few seconds here. You'll see it spawn on there, Expel Magic Arcane. It's on Pariah there. He runs the hell away. Little trail and a little pulsing damage to anybody nearby him. What else here? So again, those balls, you'll see by the green circles. Initially, you might take a little bit of damage, but you need to keep a good pace here. So you're going through those phases. There's fire again. To keep track with, or to keep up with how many debuffs are going up here. So right now there's like 2-3 balls right now. There's one in the middle, there's one on the far side between the red and yellow markers, and I don't see another one right now. But they're going to be jumping inside those. There's the fire one off, another suppression field. Again, it's going to always target you. Always assume it will. There we go. Now there's also a big frost orb that spawns. You guys will see it here very soon, I think.
I gotta go defrost.
Okay. Another barrier there. Let's go through a frost phase here in a second. So again, they're picking up the ads here, AoEing them down. You know, great strat. Suppression field. We're just waiting for a frost orb to spawn. There's frost. Okay. Frost orb is spawned. You see on the left side there. The closer you are, the slower you are. You can stampede through it, run away, Hand of Freedom, all that kind of stuff. It doesn't really do damage to you, but it slows you. And if you can't move when he's about to charge or throw a suppression field on you, it's going to suck. So try to move away from those, or you can Stampeding Roar to nullify the movement speed effect. See how the monk got 2-shot by the arcane? Like Talor says here, don't run with the tank, exactly. And there's the shadow one. Now, the shadow one is the last one. The shadow one is like it's an absorb shield. Basically, you need to heal everybody through it in order for them to receive heals. I believe it's 40,000, so they have like a negative absorption shield, where if you don't cleanse this by healing it, they will not get any further heals. So again, tanks priority, then healers and DPS in that order. You can use a trank at this point, depending on what your guild wants to do. But it is a fun encounter. I really liked it. My second most favorite encounter in Highmaul. You know, right there wasn't a great place for the suppression field, but you definitely want to maximize suppression fields as close together as possible, giving your raid as much room as possible. Don't just stand by the wall because you get a suppression field in there. So right here, one sec. So don't stand by the wall because, you know, you're going to spawn a suppression field there and there's no point. Now what's happening here? Let's go back a couple seconds. They have an orb coming down. Is anybody soaking it? So this is what the orbs look like. You know, they're coming down. You see them above the ground. If you guys did Blood Prince's Nice Ground, same kind of thing. Here it's coming down, about to hit, and there. Does a lot of raid damage. Now, if you guys find yourselves where you're running out of people, let's say your soakers are dead or their shields weren't strong enough, you can actually sacrifice people. The boss is now at 20%. Sacrifice people. Just have somebody stand under it. They will die, but your raid will not take damage. So throw a shaman there, Mayuki, Bran, Notor, whatever shamans you guys have in there, freezing hero. If a shaman runs under there, they die, the raid does not take the damage, they can ink, and you know, they're back up. So you can sacrifice people near the end there, potentially an off-tank, potentially, you know, some of your healers, DPS, whatever, in order to burn the boss the last couple million. As the fight goes on, there'll be, you know, it starts off with 1 ball, then 2, then 3, then 4, then 5. So you're going to have multiple soakers here. So now they have their 4th schlup here. It was Seirth, it was Isa. This is their 3rd one, I think, maybe. Their 3rd hunter now getting the absorption. There, you see in the middle, their schlups taking a lot of damage. It's non-stop bombard heals on him, so he has a big 15-20 million damage shield on him. And that shield should last the entire duration of the fight. You gotta just bomb heals the crap out of them. Is it possible to soak bubbles with Ice Blocker Bubble? Good question. It's not. You will die. Tested it on beta. It does not work, guys. Someone not important. And here, yeah, they got the boss fight, and again, it is a pretty straightforward encounter. I mean, it's fun. It's a lot of shit going on, but it's fun, though. Just make sure you don't mass dispel your melee. Let them spread out, then dispel them. And then just, you know, dispel everybody as needed here. If DPS is low on this fight, tank damage can be pretty high. Yeah, so what Psycho says there is true. Psycho tanked for us. If your damage is really low, it's going to get out of control, like the amount of damage going out, because of all the little balls that are falling on the ground. So you need a good balance of physical DPS as well as magic DPS. If you bring no magic DPS to your group, you will never have ball soakers, and you'll have more and more balls coming down, which is fine if you have enough DPS for it. I'm going to clear my battle tag for a second, guys. Good. So, that's that. Any questions about that fight? Let me know. Thanks to Ad, Talaror, whoever else. Yeah, you can. You guys cannot use any immunities. So let's look at the Dungeon Journal for a second. Korag. So the ability is Overflowing Energy. Does 1.5 million damage. Arcane. It explodes. I mean, it does 50,000 damage to the entire group. So if you have multiple balls falling down, and let's say it's 3 balls coming down, and nobody there to soak them, well, it's 150,000 damage going to the raid. That's a crap ton of damage. You know, you have 200,000 life as a raider. This effect pierces all immunities and damage reductions. You can't. I mean, there's no possible way. Just take it, let your soakers deal with it. Hunters are great at it. Is it possible to get rid of the Shadow Shield with health stones? I believe any kind of heals count toward it, Brass Monkeys. But, that being said, health stones are not as effective as health potions. Health potions, much more effective. What's the hardest fight in Highmaul, in my opinion? I think people are going to have trouble with Tectus, and then people are going to have trouble with the last boss, Imperator Margok. He's a bit of a bitch fun boss or whatever. Since Heroic will be the first, LFR people will learn how to do without being derps. Yes and no. Okay, I'm gonna go over one more boss here. Well, whatever. Be with survival. You'll be fine. Okay, guys, I'm going to go over one more encounter here before I do the Molten Core, because my guildies are waiting on me, too. I told them I would start about 10 minutes ago. So we're going to go through one more encounter. Let me go through Del's Fit. Damn it, Del. So let's go through Imperator. It's a quick little glance here. I can go into more in depth with these if you guys would like, but I want to sort of stop it there very soon and then go through Molten Core. But again, if you have any questions, please ask, guys. Please ask more and more questions. I love your questions. So let's go through Imperator Margok, the most difficult encounter in Highmaul. It'll be a bit of a bitch. So, here we go. So again, this is the Holy Paladin perspective. Del from Reckoning. First phase, there's these arcane little bombs. If you stand in a bomb, you blow up the raid. It says, Sparty stood in a bomb. You suck. You have to move right away. So you'll see here, let me fix the quality as well. Perfect 1080. It'll fix in a second. There. So you see them run away right away. Don't jump out of abilities. Always run out of abilities. There he throws out his Light's Hammer. There is also this Arcane. So you see Arcane on me. The Arcane ability, it jumps between people, but every time it jumps, it does more damage, and the radius of the jump decreases. So by 5 or 6 stacks of it, it's doing more damage, but you can run it out. At 1 stack, if you try to run out, it's got like a 80-yard range. You will not, do anything else. So there's no point running out. At 4 or 5 stacks, you can see it on your raid frames, you run it out. So you saw a little rogue run it out there, which is totally fine. There is also an ad that spawns. There's a Mark of Chaos. Watch it spawn here. There's... never mind, it's on the tank there. The tank with Mark of Chaos runs out. You see their DK tank, what was his name here? 5 dude or something, running out. Their Destructive Resonance, that's the bomb. Now, whenever these ads die, so the big, what's it called? The big Voidwalker things, they do a knockback. So if you're standing right in front of a bomb, when the ad is dying, you will get knocked into a bomb, blow up your raid, and then everybody dies. So your positioning is very, very important this entire encounter. You always have to think and be cognizant of where you're standing. Do I think it's very disadvantageous to have a very melee-heavy raid group when raiding Highmaul? I mean, you did have some ranged. Ranged are pretty damn effective on a lot of the encounters, Nikers. You can't just run, like, 3/4 melee. I think that, at that point, you would be at a disadvantage, sorry. Yeah, 200-yard range. Thank you, Talaror. So once he starts transitioning here, he has that big sort of knockback, that big wave. You need to run through it. So let's go back through it, this wave in a second. I didn't miss it here. Okay, well, there's the Arcane Wrath again, jumping. So it says Arcane on me. He's going to stay on the right until he jumps away a couple times. There's the bomb again. Maybe it hasn't transitioned yet. Okay, so now he goes into Phase 2. Phase 2, lots of little fun here. You DPS him. And now through each phase, each of those abilities you saw in that first phase gets stronger and stronger and stronger. So now these ads are going to start knocking people back as soon as they get destroyed. And there'll be a bomb here very soon. So just watch where these guys are standing. So now Mark of Chaos is on the 5-kill guy. He gets teleported away randomly. I mean, he gets teleported somewhere in the group here. If you get teleported on your raid, well, it sucks. Make sure you move away from them. Now this wave right here, it's going to start pushing you back, and you take damage every time you take a tick of it. So how do you do it? You run through it. When that wave comes towards you guys, don't just stand there and heal and just, run away from it. Run through it, push through it. Okay, I missed the ad dying there. There's the Arcane again, the Arcane debuff. Now, there's one ability that I don't think you guys can see because it's from one person's perspective. Basically, there is a root ability. Let's go pull it up here. It is let me try to remember what it is called again. No, it's the, I'm trying to remember. No. It's with Resonance. Is it the Mark of Chaos? That's the jumping one. I think it's in the later phase here. Arcane Wrath, Destructive Displacement. Anyway, I'm thinking of the one that roots you. The one that roots you in place. Basically, it tethers you to the place you're standing in, where if you run away, it'll pull you back in. So if you're standing in front of a mine, like in a mine, if you run out of that tether, it'll tether you back into the mine, and then you explode. So, but only the person that is actually tethered can see that. This actually had really good music in this. I'm going to play it in the background here. So there's the Arcane again, and you see the ad spawn. So what happens when the ad dies? Yeah, there's the bomb. So you see how which way they shift here? They shift laterally. They shift sideways, and they get knocked back. If they had shifted forward, I guarantee somebody would have knocked back into the mine, and they would have died. Because you can't. You can't let any mines explode. And the mines will dissipate after time. So, one sec here. So again, that's phase 1 and phase 2. Drop mines, deal with the debuff, deal with the tank thing. But it is pretty straightforward in the first couple of phases there. Not too bad. Yeah, it's basically like 5 abilities. It's dealing with the debuff, which, bounces between melee and ranged. It's dealing with the bombs here. It's dealing with the tether and dealing with the force wave, right? So again, here they're sort of stuck between 2 mines. They're going to get a knockback in a second here. See, that was a really careful one. So, see what happens right here? That mine exploded right there. That's exactly what happened. That's what I warned you guys about. So again, look. Mine spawns right here. You know that the ad is low life. Don't run forward. You see Del here, a smart player, runs to the side because knowing he's going to get knocked back. But these other guys get knocked back into the mine. Raid takes damage. Somebody just died. The Warlock just died. So it is very important not to get hit by those mines and always be aware of your positioning. So this is going to get into phase 3 here. The next intermission. Again, that wave. Make sure you run through it. You see how he doesn't run towards the mine? Smart player. And the raid is stacked the entire time, benefiting from those group heals because he's throwing down Light's Hammer because the raid is so stacked. Check the Resonance. There we go. We're going to transition here very soon. If you get tethered, you will blow up a mine. No. So Frisco, good question there. I should have mentioned that. If you have the tether on you, you can run away from the bomb, but still stay in range of the tether. So let's say the bomb is a 5-yard range. The tether's actually a 10-yard range. So you're totally fine running outside of the bomb radius, but still staying inside the tether. The tether will eventually go away, and then you can definitely run away from it. But you have to be aware if that tether's around you. It's a red circle on the ground. I don't think there's one in this specific video. So you see how small that bomb is? The tether's actually like twice that size. So you'll be totally fine. Just don't, run too far away. Yeah, because this is a strat video. There's a knockback again. Almost got knocked back into that mine. Okay, next intermission here as they run through it. Now, this is where the fun really begins. These intermissions. He's healing, healing, healing. Now, there's going to be 2 War Mages that spawn. The War Mages cast a slow, which need to be dispelled. They cast these, and at this point need to be spread out. Your DPS need to blow up these War Mages, prioritize on them, and assign a certain amount of DPS to these anomalies on the right side. Again, they blow up when they die. So you interrupt this War Mage's Nether Blast. It is an AoE ability, so it targets one person, hits them, and anything nearby. You assign enough DPS to just kill the anomalies. Don't blow them all up at once. There, they do quite a bit of damage. You can focus these guys down. You assign interrupters on one ad, and then everybody focuses on one, then the other one. You have to kill these before the boss comes back in the next phase. So they got one War Mage down right now. The other War Mage is currently at 90%. Meanwhile, this group is, stunning, slowing, and killing the anomalies sort of one at a time. Because, again, if you kill them all at once, your raid's going to wipe. Now, that one died. It's, it's a little bit of damage each time. What is the melee tank job for this fight? A melee job throughout the fight is, you DPS. You deal with all the same abilities that their raid does. The Arcane Wrath that jumps back and forth between players. You guys are killing the War War Mages here. Those are your priority, again, before anything else, unless you're assigned to, AoE here. I believe that's an Earthquake on the left side. As a tank, you need to deal with a tank swap. So it's going to root you in place, or it's going to, you have to run away from it, or it'll teleport you somewhere. But if you have the Arcane debuff on you as a tank, you need to run the hell away, otherwise you will wipe the raid. That's the tank swap mechanic. Very easy to deal with. Just run the hell away, don't stand near anybody else. In the later phase, you guys will see this very soon here, the tank actually gets rooted, so the raid's going to have to move away from it. Okay, so there's a bomb right here on the right side. We're almost done with this video, guys. No Clarendon, we're about to do it here. Right after this video here. Is it possible to drag the small adds into the mages for AoE damage? I believe they do damage to anything nearby. I'll double check here in a second for you. So, you see, okay, let me go back here for a second. So, that Arcane debuff, you guys saw in the first phase, the tank ran away with it. In phase 2, the tank gets teleported somewhere. Well, in this phase, let's go back here a second. Sorry. In this phase, watch what happens. The tank actually gets rooted. And if anybody is near that tank when he blows up, they die. So watch what happens with the raid. Tank's going to get rooted here in a second. Here it comes, and Fortified Aberration. No, sorry, there's some whatever, Arcane Aberration here. And it's about to happen now. Where is it? There. Mark of Chaos Fortification. So he's stuck. He's stuck in place there. He can't move. He's by the green marker on the right side there. The raid moves away from him so they don't die. It's a big, big shift over. And while you're running, watch out for mines, watch out for everyone else you're doing, and watch out for the debuff, right? So the further you are away, the better. And now the wave. This one doesn't push you back. Now there's actually 3 waves of damage. That was wave number 1. Wave number 2 here. And then wave number 3. There we go. All the while, you're dealing with adds, you're dealing with mines, you're dealing with the tether, you're dealing with the jumping debuff. So it is a lot of shit going on. It is a crap ton of things that you need to be aware of. This fight is really going to test a lot of raiders. It'll take a lot of practice and muscle memory learning all of the phases. It's only 5 abilities, but they get progressively harder every time. There are somebody stood in a mine. The raid took a lot of damage right now. Here comes a knockback. Oh, it doesn't knock back in this phase. Just does a lot of raid damage. What's the add-on showing the boss's cooldowns? I'm not sure what he's running here. I think it's like Big Wiggers of DBM. And this isn't the last phase, friends. This is not the last phase. This is the second last phase. So there's a lot of shit going on. Yeah, lots of damage going out. It's going to be very healer heavy. You see their druids. Oh, you guys don't see on the left side here. Who's doing how much damage? Is a crap ton, a royal crap ton of damage. My suggestion for this fight would be learn the mechanics, as they pertain to each phase. Don't learn the basic stuff. Dares DK, thanks for subbing. Welcome back, Dares DK, much appreciated. Thanks a ton, man. It's Big Wigs, thanks a ton. yeah, so just really learn the mechanics of what each ability does, and then they'll get progressively harder every phase. So very soon you're going to transition to the last intermission, which again is more ads, more mages, more stuff. I don't think it's actually a kill attempt here, but you'll see how chaotic the last phase gets. There's the Arcane Fortification. So what happens with the Fortification? Everybody gets the hell out, right? Okay, and there's the ad that spawns. That was the wrong mark, never mind. So they're dropping debuffs off to the side there. Like, it's a lot of potential stuff. There's Arcane Wrath on Dell. So he's going to run away. It jumps to him now. You guys saw it jump there from Dell to the purple with a purple marker. He's going to run away now. So let's see how he runs away. Well, he was still too close. Now the Warlock's going to try to run away with his wings. There, and there's a tank on the left side by the purple marker. He's rooted. He's going to explode in a second. There, he's exploded. People were away, so it's not bad. And now this is the last intermission. This is a long, long boss fight. You know, this is like a 10-plus minute boss fight with all the phases that are going on here. The music gets really good here. Again, more anomalies. Again, the same war mages that are casting spells. Plus, now there's a Reaver spawning for you. You know, if these mages and, you know, this shit was enough, now you have another big ogre trying to kill you. So same thing as the last intermission. Kill the mages, AoE the anomalies, and then deal with the Reaver here. So it is a bitch to deal with. You're going to do this phase really quickly here. Or, I mean, quickly enough. Let's fast forward a little bit. Okay, and then the boss spawns, plus you have all this shit still. So it's very, very chaotic. You know, it's a big DPS check, a big healing check. You know, they're still on the second War Mage right now. And the Reaver is still at, what, 60%, 6 million life. And Imperator still has 33 million life. So it's a lot to deal with. Some guilds, you know, just hero right through it. Just, that's really when you need to use your cooldowns on those intermission phases. The other phases don't matter as much. You want to get through these as quickly as possible. But again, it'll be a big, big amount of work for a lot of raiders here, so enjoy it. Enjoy it. This is going to be a fun encounter. I mean, the most fun one. Fuck. And then Korag. Yeah, and Dell's run out of mana here. So yeah, they wiped here. Again, it was an awesome, and I mean, it's a fun game. We did it on beta, and we did, I think, what, the normal, heroic, mythic one, I can't remember what we did. We did a bunch of them.
Was that Imperator or what?
That was Imperator. Yeah, that's a fun one.
What did we get to? We got to the last phase on...
What's the link for the video? I'll link all these videos to you later on. Right? I mean, I'll have my blog ready to go tomorrow at some point. That was the video there, Dell's specific one. Hope I can link those. But yeah, I mean, it was great. So any questions about raiding in general, like, I mean, what item level you want, those of you that are joining the stream now,